Paul Baker. Started metal detecting, I don't know, 5-6 years ago is about it. And I run a small channel on YouTube called Prospector Paul. So, little shameless plug, check me out on YouTube if you would. Just kind of going around the room. Who here has been metal detecting over a year? Okay, about 3 years. Getting a little less, about 5. About 10. Wow, interesting. Hopefully I can teach you something, I don't know.
I'm always learning, so
We're gonna give it a little, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So if you guys could find something today that would be the ultimate thing that you could possibly find, your bucket lister, right? The number one thing, what would it be? How about you?
Wait, say that again?
What, if you could find something with your metal detector today,
Yeah.
and you would say, that's it, I have got the best thing I could ever find with a metal detector, what would that be? A treasure chest full of gold. Interesting, that came up last week. We'll call it pirate treasure, okay? Oops. Something else, how about you?
No clue.
No clue.
No clue.
How about you, Greg?
I'd like to find one of the gold coins that you found up on the mountain.
Gold coin, interesting, yes. Noticing a pattern here. We'll see if it continues. Who else has got something? Raise your hand now. What would you find? That'd be cool.
Small flakes.
A small what?
Small flakes.
Flakes? Okay, so like gold nugget?
Jimmy Hoffa.
Go down on that. Anything else that'd be really cool?
That lost,
Yeah, somebody lost something.
that lost diamond ring.
Diamond ring.
That doesn't belong to anybody that you have to give back to.
Interesting you say that, because that's like the big thing in the world of metal detecting, right? You try to find the owner.
That's right.
Gold ring.
I want a $50,000 one, that's my, it's my goal. Then I go look for another one.
How about the blue?
What's that?
The blue?
A doubloon, right? Back to the pirate treasure stuff. That's some cool stuff. Those are
I
definitely.
didn't hear that one, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Well, that's why we're talking out loud. Anything else that'd be really cool? Okay, interesting. So, I am not going to talk to you about any specific machine. There's a lot of players in here and a wide variety of machines. And I'm not an expert on, well, my own machine, to be honest with you, but we're going to just go over some generalities that are going to help you be better metal detectorists. So, the first thing I want to talk to you about is habits. Because I've sat in these classes just like you guys are doing. We brought in Mind Lab, we brought in Note to Macro, Garrett, all the metal detectors. And the first thing they tell you is keep your coil on the ground, right? And go out there and swing. You don't want to swing like you're cutting weeds. And we all hear that. We all heard the exact same words. And we go out to the hill, and I put my camera on a tripod, and I go out there. And I can't use the footage because I don't want to embarrass everybody. Anybody, I should say anybody. A lot of guys do keep the coils on the ground, and a lot of guys are chopping weeds. It's amazing. That, you're losing depth with that. If you're off the ground 2 inches, and like the monster, it only goes down 4, maybe 6 inches if you're lucky, and you just took 2 inches out of that, you just missed a whole bunch of targets, right? And also when you're swinging, you're really only covering about this wide, where if you move your body and swing your metal detector and you keep it flush with the ground, you're getting a lot more coverage out of there, a lot better chance to find a target. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing that I see people do when they're out there is they take the easy path. There's a trail that goes up Rich Hill over here, and you can take the buggy up there about 3/4 of the way, and then there's this nice little path that goes to the top of the hill, and there's an old cabin up there and whatnot. And a lot of people just walk that path and swing the same path that you did, and I did, and they don't find nothing but a couple of boot tacks, right? They don't get off the beaten path. They don't get under the rocks, they don't get under the bushes. These are all things that are habit. That if you do those things, you go after them other harder, tougher places, a lot better chance you're gonna find something cool. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about discipline. And I got some examples here. I actually found a couple of these things that are on the board. First one's gold nugget. And gold nugget, we were down on a wash. We worked all the overburden down, and we're right on the bedrock. And we swung the metal detector, and then we had cleaned the bedrock with a vacuum cleaner. We cleaned it with a broom. This stuff is spotless. And this nugget was down in the bedrock. The metal detector said, dig here. We looked at it, there's nothing there. For 45 minutes, this target kept giving a signal. And we had no idea where it was. There was a little teeny tiny hairline crack that we eventually found after some more brushing, some more wire brushing is actually what it took. And we found this little crack, and we dug this nugget up. That was discipline. 45 minutes. I was ready to give up. The bedrock's hot. There's a hot rock down there. There's something, but there's not a target there. The metal detector does not lie. It finds metal. So we dug up this gold nugget. We darn near left it there. So you got to be disciplined when you do find a target. Last Friday we went up to Jeremiah's mine. I don't recognize anybody. Frank was here. We went up there and I found a little picker. And I chased it around that hole for 35 minutes. I'm glad I didn't film it because it was terrible. Yeah, I would have it in a scoop, then I didn't, then I did, then I didn't. So you gotta stay disciplined, you gotta stay chasing it. Otherwise you're gonna be that target, right? Another one, gold ring. I found this glass ring in a park back in Michigan, and the ring is from 1975. And yes, it did track the owner, or tried to track the owner down. I went to the school and I couldn't find the owner. But I damn near left this. And it was funny. Well, it's not funny. I went out on a Sunday and they were calling for snow. It's middle of November in Michigan. And I figured it was the last day I was gonna metal detect until the next weekend. It was probably gonna be frozen and cold and not be able to do it. I went out there and I worked for like 6 hours. And the last target I come up with was a pull tab. And I dug 50 that day. And this is going back to habits as well, right? A lot of us use our little indicators, VDIs on the graph. It says pull tab, I'm not digging another pull tab today. That's exactly what I said, and I didn't dig it. I took 3 more steps forward, and I found a little coin spill. It was a quarter and 2 nickels or something like that. And that was it. I was happy, I'm done for the year. Went home, got up the next morning, went to work. Well, it didn't snow. And I'd gotten out early in the afternoon, and I thought, I'm gonna take advantage of this, and I'm gonna go back to that park. And I went back to exactly where I had left off. I found a little coin spill. It was on the surface, so I could see where I moved the grass around. And I thought, I'll take 3 or 4 steps back, start over. I marked that pull tab. Take the metal detector, it says dig here at during 90 degrees, and it's still pretty solid. I thought, wow, that is solid for a pull tab. And sure enough, I dig up a glass ring. I almost left that there. It was that close. Then, everybody following along so far? So then I come down here this winter, and 2 days before Christmas, I find yet another one, it's a gold coin, just a couple miles from there. There was an old cabin site, and on the back side there was a chimney. And we had a guy here in camp that had hit it before I did. And he was working and he found a Dutch oven, 8 inches down.
That's a bit.
Inside the Dutch oven is a can. And he's shaking, he's going crazy. It's just full of gold coins, right? No, it's full of dirt.
Sounds
So we get a little water in Antelope Creek, and he decides to go dredging. He gives up on the metal detector. He says, go ahead. I go the next day, and I'm not kidding you, this far away from where he dug the Dutch oven, I get a big piece of iron, big signal. I know it's junk, but I dig it up. This is part of my habits, right? I should
Dig
have walked
everything.
away. Yeah, dig everything, exactly. If I pull up this piece of metal, and it's got holes in it, it might have been using it for a screener, might have been under a chimney, or a fireplace, I don't know. But there it was. I pulled that and threw it away, and I started to walk away, and I thought, you know what? Better check that hole. Sure enough, $5 gold piece, folks.
Sweet.
I'm not bragging, I'm telling you where I almost messed up, right? So these were finds that I almost left. 3 different pieces of gold that we kind of agreed on that are pretty good finds, right? I mean, bucket listers, more or less. Here's the stupid part to all this. I have not found a silver coin yet. I don't have a silver dime, a silver quarter, but I got 3 different kinds of gold. And it's all from habits and discipline, right? Chasing those darn targets. Any questions so far?
I think your point is that you should dig all targets is what you're
You
saying.
should.
Because I've done the same thing. Found the pull tabs and then found the diamond
Yes.
ring later. You know,
Exactly.
at that same spot.
Yeah. Very important to dig all the targets. And as you work with your metal detector, you start to understand it, and sometimes you're just so confident that it's a piece of iron and to walk away. There's something called, I'll get to your question, there's something called complex iron, so nails in particular and wire, if they're bent, it's gonna give you a good signal. And you're gonna dig that and you're gonna go, well, it's junk, why did it give me a good signal? That bend, for whatever reason, or the round head on the nail, tells the metal detector it's a good target. So then you start getting confused and lost, and then you don't start digging those, well, it could be a ring the next time or a coin, so you really just need to dig it all. The metal detector, I don't care what brand you use, I'm not sponsored by anybody. Whatever you use, it's gonna find metal, bottom line. How much depth you get out of the machine depends on how much you spend. That's all there really is to a metal detector. What was your question?
I just wanted to know if you panned out that dirt that was in that can.
I don't know. Did Terry ever pan that out? Did you hear?
You're right.
Did Terry ever pan out the dirt that was in the pan? Or
I
the
didn't
can
hear
that
it.
was in there? I don't think he did either. I think he just shook it out, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And Terry finds all kinds of,
Oh, yeah, for sure. But yeah, he was gonna write into the, I think it was a mining journal or whatever. He literally missed a $5 gold piece 18 inches away, so he gave up. You know? Any other questions? So getting back to your metal detectors, again, this is a generalized class. I'm not really specific, targeting any specific machine. One of the important things I can tell you though is every one of your machines has a coil cover on it. This is not the actual coil. So when you're out there and you are pushing it on the ground and moving rocks and things like that, getting the most depth out of this, you're wearing out this coil cover. These are on Amazon, they're at metal detector shops, and they're cheap. Don't worry about tearing up your cover. Keep that on the ground, get your depth. One of the things about them is they just pop right off. Of course, it's going to take me forever now that I said that, right? But these will pop off, and you should take them off every now and then and clean it. Because out here, we're loaded with black sand. And if you get black sand in here, right next to your coil, you're going to get a lot of false targets. You're going to hear whispers and things like that. This is one of the things you can do to help you be a better metal detectorist. Just keep these cleaned. Coil gets a hole in it, or coil cover, get a new one, right? So far, so good. We're all still caught up. Good. How many of you have a button on the metal detector that says, oh, I can't think of the darn word.
Discriminate.
What's that? Not discriminate yet. We'll get on that one next. Ground balance.
Yep.
Okay. You know how to ground balance? Who doesn't know how to ground balance? And don't be ashamed of that, everybody. Okay, good. So ground balance, on a lot of machines, they will have a button that says how to do that. That's one of the first things you want to do is ground balance. The Monster is kind of an automatic thing. It's always adjusting to that. So the way to ground balance, you turn the machine on. If you have the button that says that, you gotta hold that button. If it's an automatic one like this, you just start pumping the ground in a small, slow motion, start making a circle. And you wanna start off very small and work your way out to about a trash can good size, about 30-inch diameter. And what that's doing is it's picking up all the different minerals in that particular area, and it's telling the machine to tune those up. So as you're pumping it, it's gonna make a noise, and when you get that noise, just keep pumping on that same spot, and then it disappears, and then you start your circle a little bigger, right? And then get another sound, and that'll disappear. And that gets rid of all most of the signals that are not necessarily a target. You cannot, with any metal detector, ground balance a target out. If there's an actual piece of metal in there, you can pump on that all day. You're not gonna get rid of it. If you do that first thing in the morning and you move out, to a different area, the ground can absolutely change out here, and it can change in just a couple of feet. The ground may be blonde and turns red, and all of a sudden there's a lot of big rocks. Mineralization change too. Sometimes you still have to pump the machine in a new area, right? If it starts getting noisy, try that ground balancing and get rid of that extra noise.
So even like you do the circle,
Yes,
even
sir.
if there's a hot rock, just
Yeah,
include that.
yeah, because you're not gonna tune out a hot rock with some machines. With my big Garrett, I can tune those out unless they're this big, then I can't tune it out, but
It must have been the 705 exterior. I think that somewhere I heard that you'll get a sound as it comes up and down, and you do it until the sound is the same coming up and as going down.
I've always been able to tune them out, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, it might be
100%.
just specific to that.
I can make something up if it'll help you. Yeah, so ground balancing is very important. Get rid of those extra sounds. We only want to find good targets, right? That's what we're out there for. We're doing the right things. We're keeping our coils on the ground. We're working the brush piles and things that are a little harder to get to. Maybe the side of a hill, right? But we're also ground balancing and just focusing on the better targets.
What coil should we use today?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a matter of preference.
Monochrome.
Yep, absolutely. I personally, do you have a Monster?
Yeah.
Okay. I personally like the small one. It's just a preference. The large one, you'll get a little more depth out of that. And the only reason I don't care for that one, and I'm just being honest, if you go over two targets that are this far apart, you could get them both on that coil, right? Now you're trying to discern which one's which. Where you got a little better chance with a sniper coil, they call them, to hone in on each one. It's not that you can't do that with that. It might just take a little longer if you're not using the machine a whole bunch. It could be a little frustrating. Frustration is probably the #1 reason why people don't stick with the metal detecting. And you gotta work through that, I'm telling you. The only reason I found 3 different pieces of gold is I just kept at it. As mad as I was a few times, you just gotta stay with it. If you pull your metal detector out and it's got 1.5 inches of dust on it, you're probably not gonna find this stuff. Probably. I'm not saying it's impossible. Any other questions?
So when should you ground balance? I guess, you start it up. But
As soon as
as
you
you're
start out,
detecting, well, you can start hearing those little whispers.
You're gonna start hearing
that you
little whispers
Don't know
and
what
things.
it's saying to me?
yeah,
Okay.
try pumping it, trying to get it out again. Sometimes the ground's so hot you can't get rid of it, especially out here in Arizona. It's ridiculously hot. Yeah. I don't know about like Oregon or Washington. I'm sure there's a lot of hot ground there as well, but I haven't swung the detectors there yet. Any other questions? So, okay, we got this thing ground balanced. How many people own a Monster? Wow, a whole bunch. So there are gonna be times where this thing's whispering, but the VDI doesn't move to gold or iron, right? You just don't see that movement on the screen. If you're getting a whole bunch of whispers and you ground balance and you can't get rid of them, bring your dry washer there. There's a chance there's a whole bunch of little gold sitting right on the surface there. And you won't find it in your scoop, right, if you're trying to monkey with it. You might pan it out, but take a dry washer there. There's been a few times I found some great spots for the Monster. They're a great machine. Let's go to location. Some people want to find pirate treasure or coins or relics or things like that. Your location probably the third most important thing, because chances of finding a nugget on the East Coast, pretty rare. I'm not saying they don't exist, they do them in Georgia and Maine, but if you're in Ohio, probably not the best location for you. If you're into the coins and the relics, you know, old maps where there used to be a store, any place where money changed hands, invaluable, right? Be able to find that today and swing around there. Again, if you want nuggets, probably want to come to Arizona or maybe Alaska.
You mentioned about coins. I can't tell the difference. Meaning, my friend has a machine that we go out, and he goes over, he says, "Oh, that's a quarter, that's a nickel."
Yeah.
He can differentiate the different types. I don't think you can with a monster.
No, the Monster doesn't have that, and it doesn't give a whole lot of tones, right? It gives a tone for iron and a tone for non-ferrous. Yeah, you're absolutely not gonna be able to discriminate against one or the other with that, but the Monster's designed to find gold. That's what its purpose is, and small gold. It's incredibly small, or incredibly cool how small of a piece of gold you can find with a gold monster. They are really something.
Can you talk a little bit more about how small, how deep?
0.119 is the smallest I found, and I was in a wash, and I was swinging the detector, pushing the off button, and I went across the wall that we had already been digging out of, and it made a sound. And I went back, and sure enough, it had probably come from a little higher up. There was a rock sticking up. It was laying on top of the rock. As far as depth, 1 to 2 inches is really where this thing lives. What a lot of guys do in washes, if you're working a wash with shallow bedrock, right, not 8 feet down, then the monster's not going to get it there. But if it's shallow, you can see exposed bedrock here and there. A lot of guys will run the Monster through there, go back through with a rake, take an inch or two off, and then go through it again. That's a great way to find nuggets with a Monster. A real good way. But you're putting a little effort into it, right? And honestly, the people that I know that do the best with a Monster, they don't work an area half the size of this room in a day. They are right there, low and slow, moving overburden, and just keep at it, and they find stuff all day. It comes back to habits and discipline. I can't stress that enough. It all comes down to that. If you're just beelining it down the path, a nice flat, easy area, probably not. Yes, sir.
Does it matter a whole lot how flat the head is to the ground?
Yeah, so you don't really want it pointed up or the toe up, right? You want it about as level and parallel as you can get. A lot of times I'm stepping on the coil to make it flush with the ground.
Sure.
You can't hurt the machine doing it. Well, obviously, if you stand on it and lift up, you might pull the head off, and that's a problem, but
Does it have a pinpointer feature on it?
I don't believe the Monster does. No, it just has, we'll get into that.
Because I know some detectors you can
Yeah, pinpoint.
pinpoint with, well, with the
Edge.
the edge of the, you
Yeah.
can tip it, hit straight down with the
Sure.
coil rather than flat.
Right. Pinpoint is you hold, usually they have a separate button for that.
Right,
It says
that's
pinpoint.
pinpoint access.
You hold the button, and as you move it over the
Right.
target, it gets louder and louder, and then it gets quieter as it passes, so you try to find them. Exactly, you're trying to find the cross, correct. On the Monster, I can tell you this though. The little M right here,
That's what it.
that's where the target's at. It's right under that M. That's where you
It
want to look.
doesn't just give you a higher number, just give you a higher sound, or,
It doesn't really give you too many different sounds.
so how do you know the M's right over it then?
That's just where it's at, because of the way the double D coil is.
So for the beep, I guess you have to look.
Yeah,
at it.
right, yeah, so you're
Okay,
swinging
gotcha.
it beep,
Yeah,
beep, and the tighter it is, the
Right.
smaller it is, the easier it is to pinpoint it. Using that sound.
It's still
and watching
circular,
it.
it's not a double D coil or anything.
Correct.
Right.
You know,
And then you
Yeah,
work
just-
perpendicular to it as well, because it could be a long piece of iron or something.
Sure.
And so if you're just going one direction, it'll confuse you unless you kind of move around.
that's a great point. Another thing, like I said, when I found the gold coin, I was working this way, and then I turned 90 degrees to that pull tab, and it was still really solid. If you turn 90 degrees to a target and it disappears, it wasn't a target. This way you might get some mineralization, you go this way, It's not. And you can't take the coil and do this, and then try this. That doesn't work. You're cheating, and the machine is gonna give you a baloney signal. You have to physically turn 90 degrees to it. And if you still got the same solid target, dig it. The other thing on the Monster is a center button. People call it shallow and deep.
Yes.
It's not. It has nothing to do with depth. That is discrimination. When you're in, we'll call it shallow mode for the sake of arguments, it's taking out iron. The sound is different, so there is 4 sounds to a Monster. And one set of sounds is in the discriminate and one's in the non-discriminate. So if you're in that shallow mode, you will still pick up iron if it's big, but for the most part it'll tune it out. But again, if you tune out the iron, you might miss a $5 gold coin. It's possible. So, any other questions?
Yeah, so every once in a while, you'll get the, and I don't dig them, when you go, okay, it's iron, gold.
Yeah, you go back and forth.
Iron, kind of gold more or less, then
Yeah.
a lot of iron, so you go iron.
Yep, and to that point, I can tell you that the Monster has given me that signal, and it has been low.
Really?
A lot of times though, it's complex iron. It's gonna be something that's bent, it's gonna be a nail, it's gonna be something with a round or a bent piece to it. If you guys are Mind Lab fans, Mind Lab came out with something called the Manticore back in December. It's $1,600. And again, I'm wearing the hat, but I'm not sponsored by Mind Lab. The Mind Lab Manticore has a 2D graph on it. And as you swing over a target, it's gonna put the target in somewhere on that graph. Depending on what metal it is, it's gonna go irons from the left to non-ferrous to the right. And then there's an up and down scale, and that has to do with the type of material it is. So you could go over, let's say a copper harmonica reed. It's gonna show it about 3/4 of the way over and down in the middle, but it's gonna show it as a rectangle. You can physically see what it is before you dig it. Now, it's not 100%, but it's gonna give you a lot more information than probably most of the machines in this room right now. If it's complex iron, this is what I liked about the Manticore. It showed up on the left-hand side, which is iron, and it bleeds. It has a little tail to it. And every target I dug with the tail was either a nail or a piece of wire. It could be a horseshoe, right? So it gave you a ton of information. For $1,600, it was amazing. I mean, if you were in the East Coast, working a bunch of iron patches around old houses, it might be worth the money. But I don't believe it's the best gold machine out there by any means. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
And what do you mean by a tail?
Just the way the target was, so a coin would be dead round center, usually in the middle or to the right, depending if it's copper or silver, right? But the target would show up as a circle in the iron, when it's complex iron, and it just kind of bled down into the next section down, and it told me that was gonna be a piece of iron that was carried. Yeah, it was really an interesting machine. So something to think about.
What search frequencies are, I don't know anything about the gold monster, does it have
Sure.
variable frequencies?
The Monster does
No,
not,
it doesn't.
no.
But if you have a machine that has multiple frequencies, what are the advantages of an HF coil that you have all the way to 74 kilohertz, or
Sure.
all the way down to 14?
So it's probably a little out of my technical realm. If it's anything like what I believe fish finders work as, so the different frequencies are different cones that you get, different angles of how the frequency's going out. And again, I'm not an expert by any means, but I believe it has to do with the cone of the angle.
Okay. I usually just change it and see what happens when
Sure.
I find a target.
Yeah, right. You know, the more directed you are, the deeper you're gonna get, probably the higher the frequency to do that, I believe.
I'm
not
not
100%
sure.
Sure.
The monocorde, isn't it like a point, an ice cream cone?
Kind of a depth, yeah, they're all like that, but some of them kind of spread out.
But if you get like a double D,
Yeah,
then what's underneath is more of a
Monocoil.
It's different, it's almost rectangle, I think. Something to
I've just seen it as the, I'm not saying they don't make different coils, the one I ran happened to have a double D on it,
it. Mhm.
you know. Any other questions?
You mentioned it's not the best metal gold detector.
Correct. I mean, they'll still find gold, they'll
Okay.
find a gold coin.
In your opinion, what is your opinion of the best gold detector and what technologically makes it the best?
It's a complex question, I'll be honest with you. If you're after big nuggets, you know, probably the GPZ 7000. I would say the 6000 is easier to run, way better than the 7000, a little cheaper as well. But that's, you know, bigger gold. The 6000 will find smaller gold at 12, 14 inches, where the 7000 might miss a smaller piece. So if I was hunting in a place that had a lot of depth, I would want the 6000 or the 7000 way over the monster, right? The monster is for shallow bedrock. It really is. It's not gonna do you a heck of a lot of good if you got 8 foot of overburden. That's not what gold lives. Gold lives on the bottom, if that makes sense.
Do you ever change coils, like, you know, monster, the
Yeah,
first
from the
one
big one to the
stayed
little one?
I mean, well, no, I meant like, go buy a different brand name and hook it up to the monster, would it work?
I don't know if they make one for the monster, but like Garrett, I think you have a Garrett, correct? The AT Pro, AT Max, AT Gold. There's a lot of other coils out there. Tornado is one of them, and there's
Coil Tech makes a lot.
Yeah, Coil Tech makes a bunch. There's a whole bunch of that way. But as far as the monster and Mine Lab in general, I don't believe they make a whole lot of coils for that.
So the understanding I have is that the coils operate in different frequencies.
Yep.
And the metal detector operates in unique frequencies.
Sure.
So if you're swapping heads around,
Yeah,
it might not work.
correct.
In many cases, you're better off, I understand, sticking
It's
with
a stock.
what's there. Unless you can go online and find somebody that says, hey,
Right.
Mike the metal detector here on his YouTube channel says, hey, I tried this, it works. You could probably, you know, experiment yourself.
The
but you shouldn't be
manufacturers
swapping.
of the coils,
Say again?
call the manufacturer of the coils,
Yeah.
and then maybe your detector, they're both
Yeah.
gonna know.
But they'll probably tell you,
Sure.
well, you can't use anybody else's
Hmm.
coil.
Yeah.
Go to
You
YouTube
can
is
fish
the
it
best
out.
answer out of that, right? Go to YouTube. Hoover Boys, they were running Garrett's for a long time, 2-3 years ago. You look at their episodes, they mentioned a bunch of different coils they used, and they worked, right? I mean, those guys find something every episode.
And then look at the comments under the YouTube channel.
Sure.
I get a lot of good stuff from
You're
just
right.
looking at the comments.
Yeah, other people.
Because you'll come back and say, oh, that was a great comment,
Right.
and you'll expand on that. That makes it
Correct.
really useful.
Yep, no, you got a great point there. Any other questions so far on these things? So it kind of brought me up to the metal detector. We've kind of already stumbled into that, which machines. I think the metal detector is the least important factor out of all this. It's your habits, it's doing the groundwork, it's doing the, homework, trying to find a place where something exists, and determining which machine you should use. I have 3 different machines. I need 4 more. No, I really would like 1 more, but, yeah, absolutely. Metal detector is the lowest factor out of all this. You can go spend $20,000 on a metal detector, doesn't mean you're gonna find a gold ring, a gold coin, a gold nugget.
Exactly. I might just make a comment, I guess. I guess I'll just tell my story. I bought a fish gold bug too.
It's a good machine.
Went out and found gold, and I didn't find gold for 2 more years.
Isn't that funny?
And I almost got discouraged and said, you know what, I'm just not smart enough for this. It frustrated me. So this is why I'm in this class.
Sure.
Because we're just talking to one person and said, let me show you a couple things.
Right?
And then all of a sudden I found a little bit, and then I've been very successful since, but I guess, and
Sticking
I'm
with
not the only one that I've had that, I've talked to a lot of people said, I would say the majority of people buy a metal detector within a year will probably sell them because
Yep.
it frustrates them. Don't
Yep.
get frustrated.
You can.
Just keep your boots on the ground and
Keep on trucking.
first two things up there, that's what I suffer with the most. It's like, oh, I heard a good signal over there, I need to run over there.
Sure.
So, anyway,
And sometimes you gotta dig the junk signals, right?
you do,
You do.
and I just, don't get discouraged.
Yes, sir.
Well, several questions, all in the same. Is this monster waterproof?
Yeah, the monster hates water.
And
That's all I'll say.
Isn't the coil, waterproof?
Monster hates water.
That's news.
I mean, I've seen people use it there. When I was with Debbie in Alaska, Mine Lab Debbie, the first thing we did as soon as it started to get cloudy was put bags over the head of the machine. That was
Wow.
the first
Oh, yeah, the
thing
head
we
of
did.
it.
Yeah, and then if it started to really rain, they were put away. That was it, we were done. Yeah.
so for getting mine labs in, other metal detectors.
Yeah, like my Garrett ATX, I can take it down 60 feet.
Mine only goes to 10.
I mean,
Well, like the
do we
Equinox
use,
is
do we use those in any difference?
and
We just found out there's an LDMA claim up here that's, and they're on a Rapala, no, I mean, the Rapala Creek?
Antelope.
Antelope Creek,
Yep.
and so should we need to change the settings or anything? If we're checking the creek and the sides?
I don't really need to change the settings, no.
Okay, I didn't think so, I just wanna make
Yep,
sure.
you just run it. There are so many different settings on so many machines too, right? You know, there are park mode and field mode and gold mode. And you're gonna have to do your own research on that. My advice is YouTube. I look everything up on YouTube and find out what's the best setting for if you're working a park with this machine. It's out there. Somebody's done a video on it, I guarantee it.
Bill Southern, the nugget shooter,
Yeah.
just down the road here in Morristown, he's got great videos on all the mine labs.
Mostly, yeah. Yeah, he gave up on the monster. just
But he does them all, he
wants
does the Equinox and
Oh, yeah.
the Gold Monster, and he did the metal detecting fast here the first time I was out
to-
there.
Yeah, that would have been a better guy than me, I ain't gonna lie.
Well, I
The
mean,
guy's- He's really good at mine.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a really nice
Sure.
guy too.
Yeah, he's super
Of
nice.
course, the YouTube videos, they don't show you the whole time they're
Yeah.
doing junk. They only show you the
You know, that's
videos
true.
of the stuff where they found nuggets.
So
Thoroughly get to see
I watch the Hoover Boys that come out every Wednesday with an episode, and they don't show all the junk either, but when they do the display board at the end with all the cool finds, they always go to the bucket, and I mean, it's a 5-gallon bucket full of junk. You just don't go out and find Indian head penny after buffalo nickel, after seeded porter, you dig a lot of junk. And I did a video out here, and it's been stated that gold nuggets are about 1 in 100 out west here, and in gold country. If you're not in gold country, 1 in 1,000, right? So we had a guy out here who was a reverend, and we decided we're gonna do this YouTube video, and we're gonna put the theory to the test. And we're on target 97, and we have no chance of finding 1 in 100. So I had cheated. I went to my wash. We removed 8 feet of overburden. We got on the bedrock, and guess what? Target 98 was a piece of gold. So we had to do a lot of work. Yeah. Any other questions, folks?
A lot of tubes scraping.
Yes, sir.
How does Darth Vader like his toast?
Toasted? I don't know.
On the dark side?
On the dark side, that would make sense. Yes, sir.
I got an old Fisher Gold bug that we're getting repaired.
I'm sure there's something out there somewhere. Again, I'm gonna refer you back to YouTube, because
Do you find someone that can repair it?
I'm sure they know somebody that can help with that. Somebody out there has done it, for sure.
Everything wears out. My head's been replaced, the coils have been replaced.
How many pairs of shoes have you gone through?
Quite a few.
There you go.
But mostly sandals on the beach.
Exactly, right? So you found a gold ring with a diamond in it.
$1,000 gold ring,
Isn't that something?
diamond ring.
Did you ever think you were gonna find a gold ring?
Never. My wife's sitting there reading a book down the beach and.
Yeah. Who else has a real cool find? I'd love to hear.
Oh, I found a really big diamond ring down Fort Myers
No
Beach.
kidding.
All right.
Took it down, I already had the detector paid for, I took it down and washed it off, and the setting was corroded, then it hit me, you don't put a real diamond in it.
Cheap setting,
Yeah,
no, that's
so-
probably not gonna
But it had me going.
Yeah.
Well, what I did find that sounded like a squished down Coors can or something, just it was a lady's Movado Swiss watch. It was still on the correct time because it hadn't hit the salt water yet.
Wow, that was fresh.
$300
That's a
watch
pretty good
at
find.
Costco or something, but yeah, it was very cool.
You got a good
Yeah,
find?
and gold doesn't always come out of the ground yellow, so.
No.
If it buzzes, put it in your pocket. I almost threw
What
it
color was your
1.6.
3.4?
Huh?
I was a gentleman behind you. What color was your 3.4? Did it look like gold when you pulled that one out?
No, it was pretty dark brown.
Did you almost throw it away?
Crud on it.
Exactly, so.
Yeah.
And I think I'd probably thrown away nuggets and went, geez, I don't know why it's doing it, but it looks like clay.
Yeah. Oh, man, no.
But that's how you learn, I guess.
Yeah, that's how you learn. Who else has a cool find? Yes, sir?
Listening to his story, I kept hearing there's this great nut detector store in Florida. So I drove down to Florida to get my Garrett AT, same one we got. And so I went to the beach, and it was so, I mean, it was like a men's size 12 wedding band.
Whoa.
That was cool. And then I started checking some more, and I found a Tiffany earring.
Nice.
I said, please, let them put this under their towel or something. And I kept checking, sure enough, I found the matching Tiffany's.
No.
Also, that was really cool.
That is really cool. That's a heck of a story. I watched these, go ahead, Liz.
Oh, I just have my own story.
Yes.
Some of you have heard, but I actually found I have a monster too, but a 6.182 gram nugget 2 years ago, exactly where that dirt came from. And it was the same as John was just saying, that it did not look like a nugget.
No.
I mean, I was going over it, I got the scoop out, I had it in a black tub, and I got a pointer. I was like still trying to find it. My husband's like, I just didn't recognize it because it just looked like a rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exactly where that dirt that you guys are all working with right now. But mine was like what Andy said, kind of how those are the best for it. But it was in a crack and it just right there. But yeah,
But you stayed with it and you found it.
Yeah,
yes.
That's the important.
there was a guy panning some gold out of Randy. He Yuba gold, and he said, "Look at this." And there was no shine to it, dull, and it was
Another little gold.
No, it's gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is a question, hot rocks.
Yes.
Certain areas you get into, and we found one the other day, and it's like, I had my 6,000, and I said, I'm taking it back to the trader, and I'm gonna get the gold monster. Is there certain, yeah, I guess is there certain, gives us a trick that says, oh, that's a hot rock. I mean,
I'll tell you
because,
what
I mean, they were all over the place to the point I was frustrated and said,
Mm-hmm.
apparently, maybe it's the power line, I don't know, but it
No.
didn't work.
It's that gray andesite out here. Gray andesite is a super light rock and it's highly mineralized for whatever reason. The 6,000 and the monster, love that rock. But it's light. So I find when I'm in those patches, you can usually take your foot and give it a kick and that target's gone. You can remember where the rock went, check it, yeah, it's just that rock. A lot of times it's right on the surface.
So I picked up a metal detector for the first time yesterday,
Oh, good.
and I found all the hot rocks.
Good.
Did you get rid of them? I'm sure you didn't find them all.
Did you put them in a bag? Hopefully you put them in a bag and
It
got
wa-
rid of them for us.
Talk about discipline, so I've got to stay with it.
Yep,
I
you
was
gotta stay with it.
frustrated within the first hour.
Sure. No, I agree. Hot rocks are a stinker out here, to say the best. Again, my Garrett ATX, I can tune them out unless they're like this. I can really get rid of them. But it makes me wonder, what else am I getting rid of, right?
Yeah.
So, am I missing some small gold with that thing? I don't know. All right, so we just gave that class. Let's see how the people are doing out here. They got them coils down. He got his down. He's a little high. But yeah, for the most part, everybody's down on the ground. This gentleman just found a little teeny tiny key, which is a great find. Yep. They're doing what they're supposed to. All right, let's see how they do at the end. That's what we want to hear. All good. A lot of people finding targets. 3 good ones found already.
Good.
Was hoping for a 4th one. Maybe we'll just give one away just to give one away. Got those fines? What, you still got your fines handy?
Oh, sure.
Oh, look at that. A boot tack, 2 pennies, and a key. Nice job, Greg. All right, who else has got something to show off? We're making a YouTube video here. Come on.
I found pine cones.
You got something? All right. I want everybody to have something. Ooh. Is that a cross? No.
Yeah, a bunch of keys.
Nice.
Cool. Excellent.
Wow, real nice.
I got a tall man's boot nail.
All right.
Nice job.
And
look at that. He's got some taco money.
All right.
yeah, that's about.
Nice.
There you go.
It is sweet.
Oh, he's got one of the good ones.
Is that a good one? He said red's not good. He said,
Red's good,
I
but
said red penny.
let's just hang on to that.
Last year's penny.
There you go.
Ooh, a dog tag. This,
Oh, yeah.
if 2 years ago, if you'd have got the collection of these, you'd have won a half-ounce gold nugget.
Hey, how about that?
Blue penny,
Where's
nope, just
Dominic?
corroded. Nice find, no. GPA pin, nice.
Tell him you found that a couple of years ago. and
Yeah,
just
there you
wanna-
go.
GPA pin. So nothing.
Nice.
A little key.
I don't see any good. Ah,
Ain't that always
no winners.
$1 late.
Look at that. Got a gear, a dog tag. There's another part of that. For the, remember that for the half ounce or quarter? Maybe they were quarter ounce. It was 2 quarter ounce.
I found a
For a bunch of junk.
Red washer.
You got a red washer?
Where'd I put it?
What I'm actually looking for is a piece of red lead. Those were the prizes. And I know I've seen 3 already.
Can't figure out what that is.
I don't
Heavy
know.
though. It's
Hang on to that just in case. Maybe that'll be the 4th place or 4th prize I got. So let's do
How
that.
many keys did you find?
Got a key and a penny?
Yeah, basically.
You're finding stuff though. That's the important part. Hang on to that. This is what you're looking for, folks, right here.
Maybe that's what he's looking for.
Anybody got one of these?
he saw it.
Didn't he tell you red?
You want one of these?
Got the big red.
There you go. All right.
This is a good prize. That's
Sweet.
yours.
Good job.
That's mine. No, it's yours.
That's fine. That's a fair trade.
Nice. Chinese coins, some real small wire, a boot tack, 2 boot tacks. All right, we're finding stuff.
He ran up to me.
Cleaned up the field.
Yeah, just so we can throw more in it.
I found all these pennies.
Pennies are good.
So I'm thinking.
What's that?
Pennies are good. I mean, they're fine. Right? You're finding stuff.
Right.
That's good.
There was that 8-inch deep target. It wasn't a silver
Is it
dollar.
aluminum? Yep.
Well, actually,
Yep.
I just dropped
I
them.
don't know what the rest of
I
it
had
is.
2
Yep,
keys.
just some scrap.
Piece of wire.
Painted wrong.
Interesting.
Oh, look at that.
Little key, little gear, little charm.
Key to the gold.
Key to the gold. Almost looks like a piece of gold, but it's a little gear.
They're there.
All right. We got a red penny and we got a red washer. All right.
And 2 keys.
And 2. Wow, that's a big key. I've never found one of them out here, and I found a lot of keys. Nice. Good job.
4 keys.
That's a good prize right there. That's 2. Anybody else got a piece of orange lead? Anybody else? That's a good one. Bring that.
The keys ought to be worth something.
No, the keys, there's thousands of them out here, I'm afraid.
Really?
Bring that to the barbecue tomorrow, right?
What the pumpkin?
You got a pumpkin.
There's a pumpkin on a boulder out.
This little piece of orange red lead.
Oh, okay. Nothing for the penny?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay.
See that pumpkin on the boulder?
Well, that kind of works out.
How many did you